Welcome to Windy City Waves. I'm your host, Adon Herrera. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the defensive back position battles that are going on through training camp that just started this past weekend. So for this breakdown, I'm going to be starting off with the starters, the backups, and then the players that I feel are below the backups. All right, so starting off with the starters. Kyle Fuller, cornerbacks Kyle Fuller and Prince Amukamara are starting corners that are on the outside. They've been the starting corners for the past year, and Prince Amukamara did start the year before that. Kyle Fuller had some injury problems then, but we're good now. Kyle Fuller last year tied the NFL lead with interceptions with 7. You know, he's a tall, lengthy corner that we got in the first round. He's been really good as of late, and he's continued to play really well for most of his career. Prince Amukamara, he's been, a really good veteran signing for us. He's played for 2 years for the Chicago Bears, been pretty consistent on that left side corner position. So for the starting safeties that we have for the Bears, we have, of course, Eddie Jackson, who in my opinion is the best safety in the NFL. And then we have Clinton Dix coming over from the Redskins. So starting off with Eddie Jackson, obviously, like I said, I feel like he's the best safety in the NFL. Although he is a free safety specifically, so he roams around the highest point of the field, plays center field, if you will. And the reason why I say he's the best is because he can play make. He is very instinctive to the ball. He's a great ball hawk, and he reminds me a lot of almost Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, playing a lot with instincts and less with technicality. Almost, he just plays the position the way it's supposed to be played. Whereas Clinton Dix is also kind of like a free safety. He was a Pro Bowler when he played with the Packers, and I like what he brings to the table. But like I said, he's a free safety, and he's going to be having to play the strong safety role to take over for Adrian Amos that left to Green Bay. But I have high hopes for Clinton Dix. They did play. Clinton Dix and Eddie Jackson did play together in Alabama, so we'll see how that works out. I'm hoping for the best. Now, the next position I'm going to talk about is basically a starter as well as the starting nickel position. And I feel like that's going to be filled in pretty well with Buster Skrine. Free agent pickup we got this offseason. He's played with the Browns and the Jets, and honestly, I've been a fan of his since he was with the Browns. Even when he was with the Browns, he wasn't much of a nickel. He played a lot of outside corner. And with the Jets, he played nothing but nickel, and he played out his full contract with the Jets. So that obviously, to me at least, says something. He's a veteran, and I feel like he's going to be good at that nickel position. Now, the guy that's chopping at the bit to be in that nickel position is rookie Duke Shelley. Now, he comes out of Kansas State, but not very many people knew him coming into the draft because he was only 5'9". But, people underestimate people that are like shorter, but he is a corner that has a lot of different types of skills. He obviously is a nickel corner for the Chicago Bears, but he played outside corner for Kansas State. He even did kick return and punt return for their team. He's pretty versatile, and he's a pretty good athlete. And from what I've heard so far, he's been showing up really well in camp. Now, the next name and the next defensive back I'm going to talk about is cornerback Sherrick McManus. So the last 3 guys that I've talked about have all played nickel. Well, do play nickel, I should say. Sherrick McManus was filling in for Bryce Callahan last year that went down in an injury and filled in pretty well at that nickel position. But that's not why Sherrick McManus is probably the longest tenured Bear that the Bears currently have. The reason why is because he's a great special teams player. And if you don't really see him, on punts, for instance, he is going down there making the tackle. But if you don't see that very much, if you don't see other tackles or any other crazy things, watch any opposition's kicks, or field goals, I should say. He's literally inches away almost every time about to block those kicks. So just pay attention to that. And if any of you guys remember Marcus Cooper's great block, return for almost a touchdown, but he dropped it in the 1-yard line. Yeah, that was blocked by Sherrick McManus. Anyways, safety Deon Bush is the next player I'm going to talk about. Safety Deon Bush is a 4th-round pick in the 2016 draft for the Bears. And he hasn't had very many time to play. He has played a couple times, a decent amount in special teams. This past year, he did fill in the void for Eddie Jackson when he went down in that Green Bay game. And he did start that playoff game we had against the Eagles. So from what I've seen from him, he can play. He has been filling in perfectly fine. and he does his best, and I've liked what I've seen so far. And actually, right now, HaHa Clinton Dix is on the PUP list for training camp, and he's been, I believe, starting with the ones, and that's a good sign for him. So the next player I'm going to talk about is cornerback Kevin Tolliver. Kevin Tolliver II, it was an undrafted rookie free agent we got last year out of LSU. He's been, pretty good from what I've seen. When he played preseason last year, he locked up a lot of the players he played against. And in games that Prince Amukamara missed last year, he filled in just fine. So he's probably going to be the backup outside corner that we have coming into this year. Now, the guy that is probably going to compete with him in the backup outside corner position is probably defensive back Steven Denmark. Now, he is our seventh round and last pick that we got this past year. He comes from a D2 school, but the measurables are pretty insane. He's 6'3", he's pretty tall, or pretty fast, I should say, and he played a little wide receiver back when he played in his D2 college. And the other thing is that he's kind of versatile. He can probably play safety as well, and with his frame, he wouldn't be a bad option in a strong safety. I'd hope to see, in this camp, them test those waters and see if he can play safety, or, you can just mix it up a bit and put him in a different type of package. Now, the next defensive back I'm going to talk about is DeAndre Houston Carson. You may recognize the name as he was drafted in the 6th round in the same draft as Deion Bush in 2016. He has been basically a special teams player most of his career. His biggest highlight was probably when we forced a fumble against the Patriots this past season, and he recovered the fumble off Cordell Patterson, I believe. So, yeah, nothing really flashy there. We'll see. He's on a 1-year deal. Let's see if he can prove to make the roster this year. Now, after this name, I feel like it is kind of everyone is on a bubble here. Now, the next name is a pretty popular name, John Franklin III. You may know him from Last Chance U. He's a really interesting story. He started off as a D1 quarterback at Florida State, a quarterback, not corner, quarter. And then he couldn't make it in Florida State, so he had to take the JUCO route. That's where he got picked up, and that's where you know him from Last Chance U. From there, he went to Auburn. From Auburn, he went to Florida Atlantic, and then from Florida Atlantic, he became an undrafted rookie free agent for the Bears. He was on the Bears practice squad this past season, and he's been developing, man. He's been developing that cornerback position role, been developing those skills, and from what I've seen, he's only gotten better. And trust me, he's a blazer. He's got wheels now. Next defensive back I'm going to talk about is safety Clifton Duck. He went to Appalachian State. He's an undrafted rookie free agent. Now, Clifton Duck, to be honest with you, I've heard a lot of good things from him coming into this draft process, and I was surprised he didn't get drafted. But with this, stacked roster that the Bears have at the safety position, I wouldn't say the safety position is necessarily stacked, but we have a lot of players in the DB room in general. It's going to be interesting how he mixes into things, and we'll see how it goes. The next two guys I'm going to talk about are cornerbacks Michael Joseph and Jonathan Mincy. Both of them were on the practice squad last year. They showed a lot of flashes in the preseason. I believe Jonathan Mincy had a pick 6 in one of the games in the preseason. So both of them, quality reps, quality players, just looking to make a roster spot or maybe even the practice squad once again this season. Now, the last two guys I'm going to talk about are safeties Doyin Jibawu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize. But he's also an undrafted rookie free agent. He's 6'2". He's pretty athletic, and from what I've seen in the D2 college that he went to, he was putting up some numbers. And, it always pops out when you put up numbers in D2, but it's always hard to translate those numbers into the NFL. So we'll see how that goes. The next guy I was talking about was Josh Simmons. He also went to a D2 college. The thing with him is that he's pretty versatile. From what I've seen, he is a corner, but he can probably play safety. He's got good footwork. He's got a 6'3" frame. And, we'll see. Kind of like Steven Denmark, he is a project, but I feel like we're more secure with Steven Denmark considering we took a 7th round pick to pick him up. But yeah, that is the wrap up of the defensive backs for the Chicago Bears already starting in this training camp. We'll see how it all comes out at the end of the day. Once again, I'm your host, Adon Herrera. This has been Windy City Waves, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.